Hello and welcome to the second Radio Masters Sales Series webinar sponsored by Marketron. I'm Cameron Coates, online editor of Radio Inc., and welcome to Prompt and Circumstance, AI Prompt Crafting 101 for radio sales. I know this is going to be a big one. This is a topic we've gotten a lot of requests for across our print and digital divisions here at Radio Inc. We want to get into it because it's going to be jam-packed. I'd like to welcome Dara Kalvort first, our Vice President of Digital Sales and Strategy at Spanish Broadcasting System. She leads digital initiatives, drives revenue, and creates content focused on AI efficiency. She's also a monthly columnist on AI for Radio Inc. magazine. Welcome, Dara.
Nice to see everybody. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be here and go over some great prompts to save you hours a week in your work.
That's right. And I'd like to welcome Chris Brunt, Director of AI, Digital, and Revenue Generation for Jacobs Media. Chris has 30 plus years of experience in radio programming, digital content creation, and digital sales, including time at Beasley Media, Detroit. He works with JCap's mobile apps clients, and he also has a weekly AI newsletter, the AI Edge. Chris, welcome.
Hey, that's good to see you all. Thanks for having me.
Very excited to have you all here and join us because, this is Prompt Crafting 101, I should say. This is for those, I think, we're about, 3 years now separated from the advent or the launch of ChatGPT, which of course changed the game when it came to AI. So this isn't AI 101, but Prompt Crafting 101, because one of the things about AI, like many things in life, the output is only as good as the input. So I'm assuming if you're sitting in on this call, you've messed around with ChatGPT, maybe Google Gemini, maybe one of the others like Perplexity. And there are a lot of great radio-specific AI products out there from a lot of our friends, but this is about helping you get the most out of these widely available tools. So let's get started. We're going to have some time for questions at the end. So drop questions in the chat. We'll answer as many as we can at the end so we can move at a good clip. Now, Dara, I want to start with you as a little preface because you have some ways to make ChatGPT your BFF, as it were.
Yeah. So with ChatGPT, if you have the paid version, and I highly recommend if you're using it regularly, that's something that you'll want to do. You can go into the settings and you can tell it all about yourself and how you want it to respond. I have a prompt in the next slide, I believe.
Yeah, so let's say it's lean in to squint there, but through the menus there. But here's kind of what you have.
Yeah, I wanted to show a copy of what that menu looked like. But yeah, here's a version of it, and it basically, I tell it about how I want the clarity to, how clear I want it to be, that, I want it to give me references, that I want things in bullet point. I don't want, contrite answers. I want it to have critical thought. So this helps a lot. There's another section too that you could tell it a little bit about yourself. So I let it know what I do for a living and what some of my hobbies are. So it gets to know your personality. So the more that you do interact with ChatGPT, it does take that all into consideration. And automatically you're going to get back better responses than if it was just purely generic. So that just helps in the addition of what we're talking about with great prompts.
And I know about having all of the tiny font there. We're going to be putting these in our headlines, all of the notes from today's session. So you can find those in Radio Inc. tomorrow. But yeah, once you've kind of got it accustomed to who you are, then you can start using it to save you a lot of time, like through prospecting with AI. Now, I know, Chris, this is something you've worked with folks about, finding and qualifying local business prospects efficiently. How do you help them with that, with AI?
Well, there are a lot of tools that are off the shelf that help sales reps prospect for new clients. Some of those tools can be mighty expensive, though. This is a situation where if you're not fortunate enough to be in a situation where those tools are provided for you, you can use a free tool or a low-cost subscription model like ChatGPT or Gemini. And this even works pretty well on the Meta.ai tool to expand your range of businesses you may be calling on. Now, I have to say that, with this prompt, when I did it a year ago, I got a lot of hallucinations, and I went through my results. I'm like, oh my gosh, this prompt is great. It's going to, be the new way to prospect for new businesses. And then I looked at it and I'm like, well, this credit union doesn't exist, and there's no Ace Hardware store in this suburb, and all of the phone numbers were 555-1212. But then 6 months later, as ChatGPT progressed from 3.5 to 4, and then to 4.0, and now we're into 4.5 eventually, we're starting to see some actionable results on this. And this is a prompt where you can put in city and a radius, a particular advertising, not an advertising, but a vertical of the businesses you want to prospect in, and then a advertising minimum, so you're not ending up with the one truck chucks, but also an advertising maximum, so your results aren't all Microsoft and Walmart and Home Depot. They're actually businesses where you can talk to the decision makers in your local market. And then it spits out as, up to about 25 results. And then it kind of times out depending on what kind of subscription you have to ChatGPT. But it gives you the name, and many times it gives you the revenue and perhaps what they're advertising in, and a name of a decision maker.
I love this prompt that you've created here. I mean, we can take it for a spin if you'd like. As I say, you can see here that let's say I'll add it in. I've already personalized mine here, so it already knows my name. It knows we're dealing with it. It needs to know nice and slow, no big words there. But I've already copied it, and let's have some fun. Give me a city, Chris, as we go along.
Let's go with Lansing, Michigan.
Then how many miles do you want to search out?
Well, let's go 30.
Now, advertising minimum, what are you thinking on this side?
Well, let's go 2,000. We'll go for small to large.
And then what category are you looking at?
Good question. Let's go with HVAC.
All right. And then let's make it about 15 results. How about that?
That sounds good. Sometimes it does hang if it gets longer.
That's right. We don't want to overload my home Wi-Fi too much. So
yeah. And you don't need to change any of those.
Yes, that's what I was just looking through. And yeah.
There's a lot of text in there to stop the hallucinations, or at least attempt to.
Now, do we want to turn on, because I know now they've introduced this search feature that'll do a live, real-time kind of scroll of the web while you're doing your ChatGPT. Do we want to turn that on, or we want to leave it as is?
Let's just leave it as is and hit the go, hit the arrow.
I like that it thinks.
Yeah, and this has become more reliable, as I said, especially now that many of the plans on ChatGPT have live searching on the web, or at least data which is almost within the last month. And it's unable to display the visualization.
Your prompt is so powerful.
Was.
Here. Let's see. We'll just try it one more time, because sometimes it does,
It does. And that's the thing, is like you could run this prompt 30 times and you'll get 30 different results.
Which is interesting, but that's why we do it. That's why we're experimenting, and that's why we're learning on this.
This reminds me of the Sam Donaldson skit on SNL, proving that it's live.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, live and unscripted.
Exactly, right?
But that is, I don't know, that is something that we've gotten so many requests for this, because it is that new age.
Yeah, and we know how cumbersome it can be to just, try to be strategic in your prospecting. And here we are, we're finally seeing some HVAC results. There's awesome. Some unknowns under the annual revenue, but we do see a whole listing of,
and over here it'll give you
where they're at, websites, verification links that can go beyond, manually moving your Google map and then clicking search this area.
That's right. And of course, like we say, double check for hallucinations. AI isn't gospel yet. It is a tool. It's not going to replace people, but it does help you do your job a lot faster.
And of course, this is the absolute worst AI we will ever use. It will always continue to get better.
That's right. Well, you just wrote about that
right now, so.
Excellent. So, all right, we've got one down. Now let's check out a little bit more into how to build better sales proposals with AI. Now you've got some prospects going on. Now you want to create some quickly customized proposals that will actually sell. Of course, that takes time, that takes research, and that takes understanding of a business. And you can actually ask AI to help you out with that. Derek, I know you're an expert in that aspect.
Yeah, this is a great prompt. So it also, I think it makes us better salespeople too, because you really have to get the essence of the brand and, deeply understand, what the client is trying to accomplish so that you can come up with, better copy, better scripts, and a better idea of, what the client should be talking about throughout the year. So, you can use this for reels and TikToks. You could use it, to help with your radio scripts, your owned and operated digital, assets, all that stuff, all of your social media. So, and as Cameron said, this just saves you tons of time. And so what you want to do here is, again, everything has to be as specific as possible. So you explain that you're the marketing strategist, you give your client's name, and you give the URL as well. Before we begin creating any content or strategy, I want you to ask me a series of at least 25 questions. You don't have to answer all of them, but you should, answer a good amount of them. This allows AI to better understand the client's business, the services, the target audience, the goals, the tone, all the key challenges, the brand identity, right? So you plug that all in. And this is going to help me. This will help you support me more effectively in generating aligned and impactful content. Once I answer, use my responses to inform all future content ideas, messaging for the client. So now you have a whole arsenal where you can continue to, work with this client all year round, and all the guesswork is out, and you look pretty much like a genius with all the great content ideas.
And I know you might be seeing this or watching this in the webinar and thinking, gosh, that's a lot to type in, but it really is. The more specific you are, the better a product you're going to get. Like we said, the better the input, the better the output, right, Dara?
Yeah, it takes a few minutes, but one of the things that we talk about all the time with AI is that, it's going to, take away our humanity or creativity. And you can tell what this is doing. It's not making us lazy at all. It's making us better, right, at the thing that we're good at. And then because, most of us don't have copywriters and the ability to come up with, 100 ideas or anything like that, or really understand, the essence of our client. We don't have, necessarily those people on staff. This gives you the ability to do it within a couple of clicks. So it's totally worth it.
So I've already copied this in, and we're gonna check it out. We'll make this one easy. We'll use a client that I hope you all know, and then put in the web address, like you say, and then we'll turn on search for this one because I love that feature, especially if you're going to use a URL like that. And we'll see what he would recommend for us. See, it's already hyper targeted to, obviously print and digital readership. You get your kind of your standard, but the more you scroll down, who are the, what differentiates Radio Inc., where the current challenges faced in marketing and outreach. These are great questions, that you might overlook fairly easily, or, you don't hit all of them at once, and you get a great little database to roll off of once you're headed into that meeting.
And it could be too that you go back to the client and ask some of these things. Maybe you didn't get them out of your first, needs analysis, or you can do it before the needs analysis too, right? And then have these so that when you come back, you can easily plug these back into ChatGPT. So as you can see, it definitely makes you, a better marketer. And then you're gonna, we'll go to the prompt in a couple minutes after, but then it'll help you write amazing content ideas.
That's right. And so if you're doing specific research, you really want to take a deep dive once you kind of have some of these information points. Chris, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, this is one of those things where if you wanted to focus on a specific vertical so that you don't have to say to your client, oh, I'm wondering, tell me what's new in your industry. This is a way you can lead with what you hear is happening in the industry. And this allows you to do it because it provides with industry pain points and conversation starters and other things to do when you have your client meeting.
So let me plug some of these in, and we'll take a gander at what it comes up with for the industry. And once again, you can use this with ChatGPT, and I know they have different paid versions and whatnot, but you can still do this with the free version that's readily available. Same with Gemini and like you said, Meta, which I don't have as much experience with, but I've heard good things. So actually, we'll go back to the HVAC on this one, see what it comes up with. So there you go. Boom and bust cycles by seasonal demand, obviously going to be big, especially everyone looking to get some air conditioning as we move into about the next month. I think next month we should all be warm, so it won't be thick sweater weather by then.
I hope so.
Oh, it's nice here in South Florida.
I bet, yes. So after that week in Las Vegas, I was almost too used to 75 degrees. But as you can see, the list gets pretty extensive as you go through.
Even gives you solutions.
Mm-hmm. And this is something when you're reading, you put your own experiences, you put your own ideas in there. You can really start building something rather quickly.
And I think the recency of the data within the platforms now really helps with the results of these prompts.
And of course, get the conversation starters here. And like I said, and then it asks you at the bottom, it used to be it just spat it out, but now ChatGPT is learning a lot off people. So, you can customize it further for your market, whether it's going to be digital or over the air or per client, which is pretty amazing, honestly. So we want to.
And I would say too, Cameron, to give it feedback. It definitely loves the feedback. That's why I kind of say it's like a friend. You start to get really comfortable with it, like it's your buddy in marketing. So it definitely takes the feedback in. And then as far as like you're saying with the recency and the relevancy, putting that into the beginning part of it too that I showed in the settings, that also really helps keep that relevant.
That's right. And of course, then like I love this 100 content ideas. I mean, how long would it take you? You come up with 2 a minute, one every 30 seconds. That's still going to take you about an hour. To come up with that like this is going to be big.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is now that what it would have done is after you put in your, answer your questions, it's going to come back with a summary and it's going to say, okay, here's everything I know about your client. And then you're going to say, okay, generate a list of 100 content ideas tailored to that client, the business, and put in the industry niche and the space. And you want to tell it, you want it to be compelling, value-driven, align with the, interests of their target audience, include educational storytelling. You want it to be click-worthy, right? Because that's a thing that we have that's really important, especially when you're doing social or any kind of media, really. We need people to act, right? You want it trend-based. So for each idea, write a short explanation or hook that connects to the client's value proposition or brand promise. So you add that in. This will help us build a 12-month content calendar that speaks directly to that client's target audience and ensure each idea positions them as a leader in their niche and encourages engagement. And that's pretty awesome to be able to get this back within a few seconds.
Yeah, I want to see some of these ideas. Let's plug some of these in here and see what we come up with. We're moving along so we can get to our last point in a hurry. But let's see. We'll go with we'll just go Clark's HVAC. We're on an HVAC kick today.
And there is a lot of boring content out there, so you can really help your clients stand out. You just kind of start running through social media, you'll see it. A lot of it's just kind of generic.
Yeah, I would say this. I mean, like I said, you use this as a springboard for your own experiences, and you're really cooking rather quickly. Figure 1 of 4. That's how you know you've come up with a lot.
Yeah, usually it'll give you a certain amount, then I'll ask you if it should keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at these. Saved a local family $800 last winter. Mistakes that homeowners make before summer hits. These are all great questions that you can turn into great creative, hopefully, and great sales.
Yeah, and the next prompt would be, to actually write those scripts after you review with your client, which ones would be most interesting. I did this with a luxury real estate broker, and some of the ones that it came up with were, about taxes and things like that. And she's like, "Oh, these are great." And then it really kind of leaned us both in because she said, "I don't want to focus on the serious stuff. I want to do more of the fun and, kind of showcasing ideas about the home or how to sell it, how to, show it, all that type of stuff." So it also gives you an idea of what your client's interested in actually saying or not saying. And then you've got a whole year worth of content. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is great. And just, here in 60 seconds, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're talking a little bit about once you've have these ideas, part of it is creating great creative, creating a great spot that's going to really seal the deal. And I know that, Chris, you've got a little prompt for that as well.
Yeah, this is because we know that, as Dara said, aren't copywriters back at the station ready to do all our creative for us in most cases. So here's a situation where you get back and, you have to hit the production deadline, a way to get your copy done for multiple pieces of inventory with one prompt. And you can even extend this. Let's say it's for the county fair and they're going to advertise on the country station and on the rock station, and you need 2 different attitudes. You certainly can add that to this prompt just to get all of the content you need with one prompt in ChatGPT.
So we're going to fill it out here as I'm trying to race the
this
system
one has a few
here.
more variables in it.
Yeah, but that's great. I mean, that's what you want, when it comes to something that's going to be on the creative side. So getting your home ready for summer, category, HVAC. We'll say we need 30-second audio ad. Target audience, say homeowners, 35 to 50. Like that, we'll go with family owned.
Under ad types, could you also put a comma and then add some social, and we'll see if it spits everything out at once?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great.
And then uses humor. I always like the funny ads.
Yeah. We'll see how funny ChatGPT is today.
And then make it friendly tone. And then call to action. We'll just keep that phone number in there. Of course, like I said, we're pressed for time. You don't have to be when you're filling these out. You can take as much time as you'd like. And of course, that's going to make the process even better. All right. Let's see what it comes up with. Slightly humorous. I like that it's covering its base there.
I like that. It's not setting the expectations, right?
If you don't split your sides, then it'll be fine. So there you go. It comes with a 15. I know I asked for a 30, but get a little extra there, which is nice.
Maybe a dad joke or two.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get anything offensive from ChatGPT.
No, not too edgy.
Well, that's good because this has got to go on demand later, so I can't blur out the whole screen. Yeah, and there's your social media ad that you can put in there as well. So all in just a few seconds. Like I said, it's not the gospel, but it certainly gives you a lot to work with, especially in those beginning stages, which are always some of the trickiest.
Yeah, I mean, even when it gets to 75 to 80% there, that's a lot of, time back to be able to be with clients versus sitting behind a desk trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
So, as I say, if there's any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat. I know we just have a few minutes left. Hopefully, I've been learning a lot. And like I said, we're going to put these prompts in our headlines tomorrow, so you can check in the headlines email or radioinc.com to get these and start putting to work for you. But yeah, any questions, just put them in the comments. We'll get to them. But yeah, this has just been a learning experience for everyone. Like I was saying in AB, 2 years ago, we all thought we were going to die at the hands of the robots, and now we're putting this to work, and it's not necessarily the killer we thought it would be, but it has become a pretty great tool.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't replace your brain, but what it does, it just extends it. It provides you with brain power when maybe at the end of the day you don't have any left.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it saves you. We get so bogged down with these other tasks that you have less and less time to get out with clients, and it's harder to prospect today, right? It's harder to find those clients. It's harder to get in the door. Everything takes longer. And, so that just gives you less time to be able to get in front of clients. This gives you that opportunity to get that time back. I mean, you literally could save 3 to 5 hours a week with what we went over today. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of time.
And I see Tim's asking in the comments, shows how to set up a simple template. Tim, is there anything specific you're seeking that for? Just for say prospecting or something along those lines. As I say, the more specific, the better. So,
the great thing about the AI platforms is that they're far more forgiving than like computer coding, where everything has to be in its own place or it doesn't work. I mean, typos work, commas in the wrong places work. So it is forgiving when you're creating your own prompts. And if you don't like what you get, do it a different way, or use a completely different platform.
Mm-hmm. I'm having folks asking. Yeah, we will have the notes and prompts from this webinar and the whole webinar itself for you to rewatch on radioinc.com tomorrow, and in our morning headlines email if you aren't subscribed. So, but Chris, this is going to be fascinating. I know that you've been doing the AI Edge newsletter for a while. Kind of watching it come up through that and covering the industry in that way. I mean, what's one of the big standouts for you while you've been working on that project?
The big standout is there's never been a lull. I mean, every week there's something new. And if it's not the platforms themselves and new image generators from Gemini or Facebook or X, it's been, tools that have been created from it, or, what media companies, broadcasters, et cetera, are doing with the tools, and then policy behind it as well, as it kind of is starting to gel a little bit. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, Dara.
Yeah, absolutely. Every week it's changing. It's getting better. There's more ways to, help with efficiency. And like you said, it's starting to gel more, where it's just making more sense and it's getting more helpful. One of the things I saw at the NAB is that WordPress, I don't know exactly when it's going to be released. I think it's soon. Maybe it's out. I don't know, because it's hard to keep up day to day, like we said. But WordPress is working on something where you could just fill in the blanks, and it's going to create you an AI generated, website. So that's, that's amazing. It's like every day there's something new. Everything we're saying now will be irrelevant, by the end of the day, right?
It's true. I mean, if we do this webinar again in 6 months, our examples will be different, and how we go about doing it will be different.
Well, hopefully
I would say, not being scared of it, as Chris mentioned about, adjusting the prompt, ask AI what would, tell it like what you didn't like, what you did like, and how do you help me make this better? Because this is what I'm trying to accomplish. So, the better the prompt engineering, I think that's really the most important thing. And you can't break it. Like, as you said too, Chris, it's not like coding.
Yeah. I mean, to show the evolution of it, it was going around the web last week. It showed an example of image generation 12 to 18 months ago, and the prompt was for a moose. And the example that it showed 12 to 18 months ago looked like a bad version of Bullwinkle. And then the most recent version of it, it looked like something that you would have seen in the covers of, in the pages of National Geographic. I mean, that's the amount of progress the AI platforms have made.
Yeah, everyone has the right amount of fingers now. So
This is true.
Occasionally it'll spell a word wrong in, graphic design or something, but it's gotten a lot better. It went from like 75% of the words spelled wrong to like 5%.
And I do want to touch on what Tim was saying. He kind of clarified in the comments. He's just talking for a starting point on setting up the templates. And I believe for that, I mean, you can just plug them in to the text on whichever service you prefer, whether that be ChatGPT or Gemini or Meta AI or what was it? Grok is Grok still going?
Yeah, Grok, yeah.
There you go. So yeah, I believe that should do it. But oh my gosh, this is
I think we set up the prompts to have variables at the top, and that's just so that it's easy to reuse them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I say, can customize as little or as much as you want, which is part of the fun. Which this has been so much fun. I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation, and talking with y'all makes me smarter. So hopefully everybody else has learned a whole lot. Thank you so much for joining us for the Radio Masters Sales Series. Thank you, Dara. Any more? Of course, your AI tips each month, Radio Inc. magazine, to find those. It's great stuff every month. You got any final thoughts?
I would say just start playing around with it. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid of it, and start to learn the automation part of it, of what works best for each thing, so that one thing leads to another. So you start automating a lot more of your day and get those mundane tasks off your desk, and more time face to face to make sales.
And thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. You can find your AI Insights weekly in Jacobs Media's AI Edge newsletter. Where can you subscribe to that?
Over at jacobsmedia.com, you can click on the AI Edge and sign up for it there.
And a big final thought?
That as we have more competitors than ever, those competitors are using AI, so it's of the utmost importance that we figure out how to use AI and use it to our advantage as well.
Thank you both so much. And a big thank you, of course, to our sponsor, Marketron, for making this possible. This webinar and info, like I said, will be available on demand. We'll get you that info in tomorrow's Radio Inc. headlines email and on our website. Join us next month for another free Radio Masters Sales Series webinar about a vertical that never goes dry. Recruitment advertising. We'll be joined by one of our Radio Inc. digital columnists, Chris Stonick. More information coming your way in the headlines. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.